Hello, I'm Randall. Back with another episode of Mastering Your Joint Movements, we'll call it. Today, this video is about the hips, and I want you to think about the hip joints and not just your pelvis. So these are great strengthening exercises, and I think great ways to open up your hips. Hopefully they'll give you a lot more stability and mobility from that. It's very simple, but very challenging to do. You're going to stand and you're going to maybe use something to take the balance out of it. Later on, if you get more comfortable doing it, you can try playing with the balance, but think of it first as a hip exercise. So if you come to my classes, we often do these inner and outer rotations of the leg, right? It's that we're going to do, but we're doing it standing. So we often do it in several positions on the floor, inner and outer rotating. So now we're bringing it up into a standing position, and I want you to focus a little more on the strength component of it. It takes a lot of muscle work to do the inner rotation, I think, for most of us. So again, it's this rotation, and I'm keeping my knees straight, and I'm thinking about the feel and the action happening in my hip joint itself, right? Notice I'm not rotating my pelvis to do the movement. It's happening in the hip. So it's just the thigh, the front of my thigh, my kneecap, my foot, if you want to think of it like that, is doing the rotation. And I find that if I focus on my heel rather than my toes, I'm not moving my foot so much, and I'm actually, if I think of moving my heel, I'm more likely to be moving my leg, which is the action that you want. Now, I think you want to be able to do that inner and outer rotation in any position, really, but we're going to focus on just 4 positions, and it's going to be very simple. We're going to have the leg out in front of us, just like you were taking a stride, a step, and you're going to practice the inner and the outer rotation here. And especially focus on the inner rotation. Don't let the hips turn or the pelvis turn. Just feel the movement happening in these rotators around the thigh and the hip. And maybe you just do it really slowly so you can feel that action and the muscles working, all right? You stay tall and you relax, and you try not to look at your foot and your leg doing it. You try to keep your gaze out and rotate. So this is one position, straight out. Another position we'll do is across the midline. So we'll try a couple here. Now maybe you're only doing 1 or 2 very strong actions. You might do 3 or 4 if it feels comfortable, but you're focusing on the inner rotation probably more than anything. The heels going out and in, keeping my knees straight, my spine long. So that's, you might even start to keep track of what you're doing. 1 position, 2, 3 is out to the side. And again, you're trying just that little inner and outer rotation in the leg. A couple of those, and you'll really feel that probably. Try not to lean to get your leg out. Let the movement come from your hips. So it may not be very far out, but just think of the heel, especially the inner rotation. The last position, I'll turn to face this direction so you can see a little more, is the leg going back behind you. You might even start with just the foot on the floor behind you a bit. It's not a lunge pose trying to get your leg back. It's a strengthener for your hip and the extended position, the thigh behind you. So don't take your leg back so far that you arch your back. Again, don't bypass the hip and go into the spine. So you're trying to keep your pelvis level as your leg goes back. You might even keep, at the beginning, your ball of your foot on the floor, and just try swiveling your heel out and in to get the action a little more conscious and trained and focused to what you're doing. And then you're still trying to keep your knees straight, and you lift the foot up. This is a huge strengthening action for those muscles that pull your leg back. And then to rotate in that position will really require a lot of strength. So you might just do 1 or 2 there, and that's going to be a lot. But these are a super quick way to strengthen your hips and give you a lot of stability in standing, balance poses, walking. Do it on both sides. If you're so inclined after doing that once or twice a day for a week or 2, then you can add in rotations or circles. We'll call it the first one we just did, rotations. The next you might try is little circles in those 4 positions. Again, spine's long, knees straight, pelvis doesn't move, and you're just in that position doing a couple of the rotations maybe, but then you go into circles, keeping those same clear, clean kinds of accurate movements. Circle clockwise, counterclockwise, and I'm going to suggest you do the inner rotation. Whichever, if inner rotating is harder for you, do the inner rotation. You circle clockwise, counterclockwise, that direction, straight out, inner rotate, circle, long spine, to the side, inner rotate. Keep the inner rotation, don't let the leg roll out. Keep the heel pivoting out, swiveling out. Do the circle. Again, you can do that super slow. And notice as I do that, I'm trying to not just have the leg out here, although that's fine to do out there, but include a little bit of extension out in that side position. Then finally, with the leg in back, again, you don't arch the back, try to keep your pelvis neutral, knees straight, inner rotate, and do maybe it's just a very small circle back there, clockwise, counterclockwise. I'm sweating from that, so it could be an intense kind of action to practice. Strive for accuracy and control. That will give you the strength and the power and all the benefits that come from that. All right, have fun with that.